Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of CxO Tech Talks on CxO Global TV. And CxO Global Forum is a knowledge sharing platform for all C levels across the globe who are not only domain experts but also key thought leaders who have managed to carve their own niche in their industries. The CxO Tech Talks were a joint initiative with one of our members, Mr. Hassan Zubairi, who's present here. And we wanted to talk about everything tech related, whether it was something disruptive, cybersecurity, AI, what the other vendors around the globe are doing. And with this particular show, we try and bring you all the international stakeholders that are working in everything related to tech. Today as well, we've got an extraordinary gentleman with us. His name is Larry Kloss. He's from BluVector. I'd like Larry to quickly introduce himself, please.
Thank you, Anza. I'm Larry Gloss. I'm a prior naval officer in the U.S. Navy. I did Signals Intelligence Agency for a few years. I've been in IT security really the bulk of my professional career. Currently, I'm involved with BluVector. We're a very precise AI and machine learning company leveraging that to do the very best ability to detect and stop malware attacks of all forms, whether it's bad content or bad behavior. Thank you, Anza.
Thank you, Larry. So that brings me to my first question, right? So you've told us what BluVector does, but before we move on, let's take a step back and really talk about what kind of malware or ransomware are businesses or individuals exposed to when they're using the internet.
Well, unfortunately, if you use the internet and you are not protected, it is not a question of if you will be compromised. It's really a question of when.
Yeah.
So if there's one word you think about when you're going to interact on the internet, you really have to think of the word hygiene. Think of it as layers of protection. There are very simple rules. You don't click on a link from someone or something you don't know. You're not going to get rich. If you get an email that says, hey, click here and you win $1 million, newsflash, you're not going to win $1 million. So the first and foremost, you have to have the mindset, hygiene-wise, of protecting and not trusting anything you do on the open internet.
Right.
Step one. Step two is you have to have layers of security, not just typical signature-based malware detection, but especially in our line of work, we're seeing a lot of vicious and lethal threats that don't have signatures, that have never been seen before. So you really have got to concentrate on hygiene.
Right. Larry, thank you very much for making that clear. But whenever the common man talks about security on the internet, they think that it's not individuals or businesses as such that would be, prone to these attacks, but maybe nations or states. Usually we hear about the website for the Pentagon being attacked or, some other state. But usually businesses, and especially smaller businesses, think that they are somehow immune from such threats or attacks because, they keep thinking, hey, who's going to, take interest in me? But, those attacks have been coming up. There's also been identity theft for that purpose, especially post-pandemic. We've seen a lot of, identity theft happening. So would you like to elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, Anza, you brought up two great points, and I'll save the identity theft for the second part of my response. The first part, you're exactly right. There's this feeling that, hey, they're not going to come after me. I'm just one person. I'm a small business. But unfortunately, here in the U.S., of all places, they've recently hacked ransomware has recently attacked a power company. A power company affects
happening in DC.
Right, hundreds of thousands of people. And then here's another one. There was recently, in the last couple of weeks, a very bad ransomware attack against a meat producing facility. Another hundreds of thousands of people rely on this facility for their food, for their dinners. So to think that it doesn't impact me as an individual is wrong. To think that, hey, I'm just a small business, all we do is we produce meat. It is not a safe attitude. You've got to constantly be on guard. Now, as an individual, you may think, hey, no one is going to target me individually. That's also wrong. And that's why I like the second part of your question with identity theft. They may not explicitly go after me, Larry Gloss, but they're going to go after things I do, whether it's at a bank, whether it's with my insurance company, God forbid, whether it's with my medical facility and my doctor. That personal information is gold. It is gold for bad actors. So when you're interacting in the world of e-commerce, you've got to make sure the company that has your identity is trusted, is credible, is doing everything they can to protect you. If not, again, it's not a matter of if that information will be stolen from you. It's a matter of when.
Right. And that's alarming, to say the least. Now, we know that whenever we talk about cybersecurity, especially with the bigger corporations, we know that this is how they invest in their cybersecurity teams or the infrastructure that they build. There's usually two teams, a red team and a blue team, one perpetrating attacks and then the other one thinking smart and thinking of ways to build that sort of security. What exactly is the solution that BluVector advanced threat detection entail?
Sure. No, I thank you. We address a part of the market that looks to increase layers of defense. So generally speaking, our capabilities complement what's already in an existing security stack. And what we've done as a consequence of government investment and government concerns, we've built capabilities that address the most lethal threat that nation states can perpetrate against other companies. Explicitly, those threats that do not have signatures. So broadly speaking, Anza, there's two types of malware threats. There's threats that have signatures, threats that have been seen before,
right.
And then there's new stuff that's never been seen before. And our capability can detect whether that new stuff, be it file-based or fileless, is malicious. So typically what we do is we sit at the edge of a network, working as a complement to other technologies to say, hey, as traffic comes in, we look at everything. If it's unknown, we can look at the digital genetic code of that unknown content. And as a consequence of our patented AI algorithms, in fact, we have the only AI technology in the US that is patented for this, to look at the actual content. And again, the content of the file-based malware, as well as the content of the fileless malware. And that adds to an extra layer of defense for cybersecurity solutions.
Right, absolutely. And it's interesting that you mentioned AI and machine learning. Now, what is the advantage of engaging solutions that have built-in, machine learning capabilities?
Yeah. Let me take one step back and tell you why we came into existence, and really, it remains our core passion. The analysts who are responsible for protecting enterprises, protecting your identity, protecting my finances, they're overwhelmed. On any given day, there are over 200,000 new malware threats that have never been seen before going out there. 200,000. And in a typical environment, in a typical security operations center, they're understaffed. If they need 10 analysts, they typically have 6 or less. They need to know precisely whether or not what they're looking at is good or bad. Many of the analysts experience extremely high probability of false detection rates. So they could spend lots of times looking at something, and at the end of the day, oh my gosh, I wasted my time. There's nothing here. So fundamentally, what our AI capability does is it helps the analyst get through all the junk. It helps the analysts fight off those 200,000 new malware threats a day. I mean, these are problems, Anza, that just cannot be solved by adding more people. So really, our capability is all about making the analysts more precise in their decision-making, more accurate, and more productive. That's what our capability does. It makes the analyst better.
Absolutely. Now, when did the company came into being?
We're almost over 14 years old.
Wow.
We were originally funded and founded by a very important U.S. government client, and the government client came to us with a question that I think every security professional wants. Help us make decisions faster than the adversary. They're constantly attacking us. We want to stop them before they even think about attacking us. That led to some very precise technologies that can detect unseen, unknown malware, pre-breach, at wire speed. And initially, the capability was designed to be just on premise. So we would give the capability to a client. The client would take it into their environment. It's air gapped. And all the training is given to the analyst. You don't have to dial out to a cloud. You don't have to call us asking for help. Everything is embedded in the AI algorithms. And the minute that analyst turns it on, he's working with a capability that has industry-leading detection accuracy. They're immediately saving 10 to 15 hours a work week in chasing junk. And our industry-leading low probability of false detection means they're making smarter decisions faster and more accurately.
Amazing. But the reason why I asked you when the company was founded was because, with the past 2 years and the pandemic, a lot of businesses suffered heavy losses, while with some, their sales skyrocketed. Well, one thing that was common was that it was a learning experience for all of us. Everybody had to do a lot of firefighting. How was your line of work affected? Do you now have a contingency in place? Did you release any new products? Did you get into a new stream of R&D?
Yeah, so there's a lot of facets to that question. Like everyone everywhere, we were most certainly impacted from a daily work rhythm. Like you, I'm sure I no longer went into the office. We're starting to go back here in the U.S. and hopefully the worst is behind us. I hope that for your listeners as well, Anza. But no, we were able as a business, we were able to continue to work and develop remotely. We have collaborative environments. As a cybersecurity company, we made sure that environment was protected. But like a lot of people out there, this massive emphasis on remote working and working from home did present some vulnerabilities. So now that everyone is dialing in remotely, we had to make sure all our devices were sanitized. Again, going back to hygiene, all the devices were rigorously checked, authenticated, validated, and we use our own capability to make sure no bad content is coming into our network.
Right, absolutely. Now, let's move towards some specific industries.
Yep.
Now, we know that post-pandemic, one industry that has garnered a lot of importance is the healthcare industry.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
How has the healthcare industry experienced an increase, if at all, in cyber attacks in the past 2 years?
Yeah. Well, here in Anza, I'm speaking explicitly for the U.S. I'm not as informed on the rest of the world as obviously I am in my own country. But the healthcare industry in particular has become increasingly more vulnerable, especially because of the pandemic. So more people are relying on remote telemedicine. I don't know if you've had to I had to see a doctor a few months ago, and almost all of it was via remote.
I had that experience as well. And quite honestly, I actually did appreciate the fact that I didn't have to cut or wait for any lines or my turn at the.
No, I actually, as an aside, it was a lot more convenient. They were able to do everything that they would have done in person. And I actually think that's going to, my opinion, I think that's going to remain a permanent part of healthcare now in the U.S. But you're now more vulnerable. From a cybersecurity standpoint, you're now more vulnerable. You're not face-to-face. You're doing something over the internet. And there are bad actors out there who are taking advantage of that. And now another facet of the vulnerability is healthcare workers are now more mobile. They're going to visit people in their homes. There's actually companies that have grown up that are all about supporting remote healthcare, and they use devices. They're going in and they're saying, hey, this patient is okay. Here's all this patient's information. And then they're sending that back through the cloud to their home base. That is a huge vulnerability. And there have been, unfortunately, some successful ransomware attacks against healthcare companies here in the U.S. And in this case, they're not going for the threat really is reputational to that healthcare provider. No one wants their health records, their health information public. So the companies,
that's what I was coming at as well, because I would never, even with the Apple Medicine ID, one thing that always concerns a lot of users globally is the fact that, hey, I don't want to put in my heart rate or my BMI on my phone, because then, that's that whole journey that the data takes. I think it's susceptible to a lot of attacks, right? So what kind of solutions can BluVector provide in this regard?
Yeah, in this regard, it's really about detecting the bad content, or with another capability we have called threat hunting, it's really making sure that things that would indicate a compromise or things that would indicate someone's watching you to do something bad, those leave there's evidence. Imagine you're in a neighborhood and this one mysterious car drives up and down all the time. Oh, that's not right. They don't live here. They never leave their car. That's the kind of thing our hunt capability looks for. And if all of a sudden someone gets out of that car and you see a face, we have the ability to say, hey, that face is a known criminal, bad, alert. So the threat hunting capability is a very important complement. You not only have to look for bad content, which is what we've been doing for over 14 years, you also have to be able to find bad behavior that could lead to bad things. So it's really those two, the combination of those two things across the entire malware attack chain is really where we add value to pre-existing security solutions.
And is this system as sophisticated to pick up on any kind of anomaly, whether it's somebody trying to log in from an area that they shouldn't be logging in?
Yeah.
Or,
yeah, it is, and there are a lot of great technologies that do it as well. So I don't want to claim that we're the only ones, but what's interesting is everything matters, not just a person, but how I act, not just a device, but how the device interacts with the network normally, during peak times, and abnormally. So it's really about getting a complete model of the user, entity, and behavior that's going on all the time. With unbelievable precision, analytics can determine normal behavior and not so normal behavior. Larry just logged in. I just logged in 7 times in 7 different devices. How the heck did that happen? Not good. So it's that sort of philosophy, and it's that sort of technology we look to employ for our clients.
Brilliant. Now, I have a report from the World Economic Forum. It's their Global Risk Report for 2021. Yep. Now, they place cybersecurity failure among the greatest threats that humanity faces within the next 10 years. Please elaborate on how companies like yours can help to prove this wrong, or maybe perhaps mitigate the damage, because I know cyber security attacks are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Can we outsmart the attackers?
Yep. I read the question, Anza, and at first my immediate emotional reaction was, hey, that's a little melodramatic. I don't know if that's true or not. But the more I thought about it, unfortunately, I think it's true. And again, it's not just, hey, they stole my credit card information. I could close off the credit card, no problem. And then in the US, companies are very good at detecting. And if you are compromised, hey, that $10,000 charge, no problem. But it's way more than that. And when it starts impacting power supplies, food distribution, compromising.
Yes, as well. Larry, a friend of mine just came back from DC yesterday, and he said he had to, there was a recent attack, and he said he went to 5 different gas stations and he couldn't find gas.
Yeah, the pervasiveness in this interconnected world, in the world of increasing Internet of Things, I'm afraid your question is right. It is monumentally a threat. And I think the best thing you can do is have layers of defense that look to mitigate and protect your data at all times. It's weird to say this, but your wallet isn't important. It's the data that is represented by the wallet. Your health is not necessarily important. It's the data that represents the state of your health. So unless and until, and there's really 2 components in my opinion, you have to have state-of-the-art technology providing 360 degrees of hygiene coverage, again, for bad content, bad behavior. Every single person who turns on the device has to make sure it's the most advanced in terms of security. But then also, candidly, we've got to be more aggressive in going after the bad actors. And it's not enough to just pay them and hope they go away. We've got to find them. And candidly, in my opinion, we've got to make sure the consequences of messing with the economy, messing with someone's finances, messing with someone's healthcare data are very, very severe, like long time in prison. I mean,
Right.
that's my opinion.
Absolutely. No, it's well taken. Now, Larry, coming towards the end of today's session, first of all, I'd like to thank you for disseminating that valuable pieces of information that you shared with us. But I'm sure a lot of the people watching today, they also have a question where they feel like, fine, these extra layers of security or added threat detection are a luxury that only big corporations, like let's say the Neiman Marcuses and the Nordstrom, can afford. But what about that one startup, that kid who's printing T-shirts in his backyard? He has an e-commerce store as well. But so, do you offer any flexible payment plans? Do you have bespoke solutions for them?
Sure. The answer is there's a yes. We do yes directly and yes indirectly. Let me talk about the indirectly. So that small business owner who relies on the internet as a means for communication, that internet is being provided by an internet service provider. Mm-hmm. There is some company that is saying, hey, small business person, we could help you with your business. That the business owner has to demand that the internet service provider is providing detection capabilities against bad content, be it file-based or fileless, and bad behavior. That's the indirect responsibility, and the business owner has got to own that responsibility. Internet service provider, are you taking care of my business? Show me, prove it. Separately, there are a lot of capabilities that individual has to perform as well, and candidly, he's got to do smart backups. He's got to be able to check files on his own, and there are capabilities he can download himself. Mm-hmm. Before he opens up any attachment from an email. There are capabilities he can download himself to check the content of that attachment. So really, that business owner has a personal responsibility, and he can get access to technologies like ours. And then, to the extent other businesses help him succeed, especially internet service providers, he's got to demand that they use state-of-the-art detection and behavior anomaly capabilities as well.
Right. Thank you very much, Larry, for your time, and we appreciate all the great work that you're doing.
Well, Anza, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to spend time with you, and Hassan, thank you as well.
Thanks, thank you. I'm going to request Hassan Zubairi to give us, his take on the topic before we wrap up today.
Nothing much, Anza, after what Larry said, but like the meat company he mentioned was an $11 million ransom they had to pay. So that was only, $11 million, and that was only on the 9th of June when they declared it globally.
That's right. Yeah.
You can say this is, and the other one which you mentioned about people not getting fuel at the fuel stations, that was an oil company also which was supplying fuel. And Absolutely. That was a ransomware attack again on the fuel lines where people couldn't even get fuel. So you can see the extent of ransomware and all these. And again, like I would like to stress the point Larry has mentioned very beautifully, that it's an individual responsibility also. I mean, everybody is capable of detecting. We can detect it ourselves also before the tools and everything. It becomes individually also. And right. Of course, it's all like we do other sessions also, but this is all adding to the darknet economy. All this money, all this ransomware goes, there is a different economy where it goes to.
Absolutely, the darknet.
Become the protectors of it, and hopefully we won't be able to come out of it, but yeah, there are measures of preventing it.
Yeah, like there's climate change, like there is the pandemic, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, like it said, there will be good times, there will be bad times. It's how resilient we as global citizens are. With that being said, please keep us updated with your comments and feedback. If you want to learn more about the kind of work that Larry Gloss or BluVector are involved in, we've shared some links in the description below. We'll see you next week with another very interesting topic and guest with the Tech Talks. Thank you and stay tuned.
Thank you. Thanks, Anza.
Thank you again, Anza. Bye-bye.
Right.